Okay.
Hi, folks online. We are almost starting. I'm Michelle. I'm Melissa. I just need to get the slide deck up, and I just posted to Facebook that we're getting going here. But folks are still arriving. Just give me a quick sec. And I am now going to leave the mic live. So continue to tell state secrets. Okay. Get two more slides.
I got one. Oh, what's their market? And I'm gonna give you purple. Oh, we're like sticking up. Oh, you said up there. Mine too.
Okay. Okay.
Let's find out this way. Yeah. Go for name tag.
Okay. How's Laura downstairs?
How is she?
Yeah, I think they're finding their way.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, they were good.
Yep, yeah, the door's open. The door is unlocked down here. I'll go lock it a little bit, but,
Okay.
and they're all in the gym playing and reading.
Okay. Okay. So I think we are 5 past, which is 1 past the Minnesota Nice, 4 past. Right? So welcome to our September PTO meeting. Welcome folks online. We've got folks here in person. My name is V. Paul. I'm PTO president this year. And so one of the things we will do an introduction of folks, but I just wanted to give people a sense of what's going on, what's going to happen today. Here is our agenda. And the board met over the summer, so we have some things we'd like to share with you, but really, truly, we're looking forward to hearing everyone's ideas for this coming year. So having said that, let's go into intros. We're going to go with the in-person folks first. I have, again, I'm Paul, and I have a 3rd grader in Miss Kennard's class, Silas. And Laura.
Yeah. So I'm Laura Myra, and I have a kindergartner in Mrs. Abrahamson's class this year, and also I am running for school board. Is it okay just to say?
Yeah, that's
now?
fine.
Okay. So I am running for school board. I made it through the primary. I'm really excited. And just 8 weeks out now from the election, so I'm really hustling now to be able to get flyers into everybody's hands and get the rest of my signs out. I ordered 1,000 signs before the primary. Nobody stopped me or like convinced me that was a bad idea. So now I'm like, I have all these signs and I'm still working to get rid of them. So I brought some tonight if anybody I have more in my car. So don't worry. I only brought 6 out. But, just if you have any questions, I do have some handouts as well. If you scan this, it goes to my website. You can email me there and ask any questions that you have, and I will pass those around here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, just for the online folks, thank you. Robin, how about you?
Hi, I'm Robin Anderson. I have a 4th grader in Miss Amanda's room and a 2nd grader in Miss Schilberg's room. Okay, so I can show them the teacher.
Hi, Crystal Metzler. I have a 4th grader in Miss Amanda's room, and I have a high fiver. Yay! And Miss Amanda's in his class. I'm just so excited.
I'm Liz Thompson. I have 2 4th graders. They're twins in Miss Amanda's class and Miss Brewster's class. So all the teachers, all the 4th graders. I'm Kate. She, her pronouns, and I have a 5th grader in Miss Hartman's class and a 1st grader.
So that just, not to pick on you, Kate, that was Kate has the microphone's up here.
Oh, sorry.
So we'll just try to project, just for the online folks. But I totally understand, as we round the horn, it gets a little further on.
Hey, Paul, sorry, from online, would it be possible for you to just hide the agenda so we can actually see who's talking? Otherwise, it's like you all are a teeny tiny speck on our screens.
Well, you could change your, well, okay, I'll do a stop share. But there is a layout control on your end. But let me.
I tried it. I couldn't get it, but.
All right. Thank you, Michelle.
Hi, I'm Gwen, and I have a kindergartner in Miss Jill's class. I'm Tana. I have a third grader in Ms. Nelson's class and a kindergartner in Ms. Jill's class.
I'm Shannon. I have a second grader in Miss Larita's class, and my son Boise went all the way through, and he's now a seventh grader. Oh my God. Yes, yeah, it's insane. Yes, it's insane.
I'm Sue Francis. I'm the IB coordinator. My kids are not here right now. They went to an IB school.
Good evening, my name is Diego DePaz, and I'm the principal here at Bancroft. And if we're on the kid thing, I have a fifth grader named Elia, who does not go to the school. And I have two second graders named Sonia and Mia, who also don't go to the school. There, those are my children, fifth grader and two second graders.
I'm Lindsay, and I have a fourth grader, Veer, who is in Miss Mercer's class, and then I also have an eighth grader.
I'm Nikki. I have a fourth grader in Miss Amanda's class.
I'm Mandy. I use she, her pronouns. I have a fifth grader in Miss Hartman's class and a third grader in Miss Kennard's class.
I'm Tracy. I have a high fiver in Miss Annie's class.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And then for the folks online, Melissa, I'm going to throw to you.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I have a second grader in Ms. Zimmerman's class.
Great, thank you. Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I use she, her pronouns, and I have a second grader in Ms. Larita's class who is delighted to sit by Shannon's second grader. Hi, Maui.
Great. Doug.
Yeah, I'm Doug. I have a second grader, Dominic, who is in Miss Zimmerman's class and is very happy to see Melissa's son as well. So we have that going for us.
Great. And Brian.
Yeah, hi. I'm Brian. My daughter is in kindergarten with Miss Jill, and we live right around the corner from George Floyd Square.
Great, thank you. And Patricia?
Hi, I'm Patricia. Sorry, I have my kids running around. Be on mute. I have two children, one in Zimmerman's class, second grade, and high five, Miss Allie.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to today's meeting. I'm going to just throw the agenda up real quick again, and then just give a quick PTO overview. Parent-teacher organization, we do a number of things, and one of the lovely things about PTO is it's very dynamic. Really, it's dependent upon what our parents and families and caregivers bring to the table and what they'd like for us to focus on. I think one of the things that characterizes our particular PTO here at Bancroft, it's been my experience and many other people's experience, we have a very involved community. So people do get involved at various levels, at the PTO level, all the way up from there and all the way around from there. You're going to sort of find that we have momentum. We have momentum. We are a group that tries to get things done. We try to achieve. We try to fill gaps. We try to be supplemental where we can be supplemental. But one of the things I wanted to sort of point out and really establish for people here in our first meeting, I was going to put a joke here, but now I'm about to ruin it. As in Captain Kirk's second law of thermonuclear dynamics or whatever, any body, right, that stays at rest, or any body in motion stays in motion until an external force sort of acts upon that body. We are a body that is constantly in motion. I really want to sort of say that's one of the things that characterizes our group and our community. And what I'm asking for from everybody here is be that external force. You know, do not be afraid of the momentum that we are carrying. We are rolling along, we are moving forward, we are doing things. I'm hoping that we're making progress in places, but truly, I'm inviting everyone who is here now and live and who are going to watch the recording. We actually do have like 30 people to watch the recordings. To be that external force and redirect our momentum as that needs to be. So that's what I'm asking for. Be an external force. on PTO's momentum. Having said that, then, we, PTO board, Robin as vice president, Liz as treasurer, Michelle as communications chair, where's Mandy? Mandy as readathon. There's also Shauna Cox, who is our spring plant sale. We met over the summer and we worked on some things. One of the things that we did that I think most people know are play dates. We are big on family engagement. So one of the things that PTO tries to do is find opportunities to let our community sort of engage with each other. And coming out of pandemic, that was kind of a big thing last year. And I think that's going to continue to be a big thing this year. We will have, when we get to board reports, we will present our financial layout, just to give you a sense of how we are in a healthy way. But let me just call your attention to, let me get rid of that box, to an item that I would like to sort of discuss, introductory discussion about PTO's financial health. It's good, and it's so good that maybe we could sort of investigate, spend the time, work with our stakeholders and spend the time to sort of investigate because it is good, what should we be doing? What would be the responsible thing, the appropriate thing, considering that we aren't, flush is too strong a word, but not hurting is certainly an okay phrase to use. So having said that, where was I going with this? I did want to point out, and I don't think I mentioned this in the email to you, Robin, but have there been any classroom requests yet?
Not yet.
Okay, so, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to be coming. One of the places that PTO tries to be active is to be supplemental in the classrooms. So we have a process. We have a process where teachers and faculty and staff can reach out to the school for an extra need, and if the school is unable to provide at that time for budgetary reasons or it's not appropriate, however the rules may go, they then turn to PTO, and then we deliberate and make funds available as necessary. And a lot of times that's things like covering a bus ride, covering an entry fee, covering extra books. We are going to be tackling a couple of items. There are faculty, there are teachers, there are teachers that are undertaking their own fundraising projects for things they want to do in their classrooms. There are 3 live ones. Well, one is finished, but there are 2 live ones. And I think it certainly might behoove us as a group to consider how involved we want to be, or can we be, in those particular fundraising activities. Let me go to, actually, I need to stop the share. That to bring up. So I'm gonna audible here. Are there any questions about what I've shared so far from anyone in the room or online? All right. So I'm just trying to find.
I have a question.
Yes, go for it. Thank you.
So, I see that we're talking about school board stuff a little bit here. Are we also talking about statewide funding?
Yes, so thank you for bringing that up. So that's absolutely on the floor. We have, as you sort of saw in our discussion point, we would like to gather up where should we be putting focus. That's one of the places. School board, Laurel reached out to us, and which is totally appropriate. The process is still ongoing, so we want to make sure that our families, our folks, are new about the work that you're doing and you're hoping to do. But that's another one that is on the table. It's a continuation from last year. For those that, just as a quick one sentence, the state doesn't fund. Can you reply?
Yes. So there's about a $1 million budget shortfall that the state has not funded for special ed and ESL, like second language stuff, but it's mostly special ed. And I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but I think MPS is the whole budget whole is like, it's somewhere between 30 and 50. Is that right? Yes. Yeah, something like that. So it's like a huge amount of money. And so it's bankrupting districts around the state. And as you know, we had a historic budget surplus last year, and I think only like 2.7 billion only was used or something. And then we're supposed to have another historic budget surplus of at least 6 billion this year. So it would be nice if we could actually use some of that to plug that hole But then also there's, as we know, a huge midterm election coming up that's gonna really determine where a lot of that money goes. So I just feel like right now is the time if we're gonna do something. Not really.
Great, thank you for that. Just to put it in context, for what is a very big picture type thing, PTO last year, we undertook the effort to communicate to our families how to get involved in these efforts. And I think knowing where it sort of lay at the end of the session last spring, how would we redirect, how would we get involved again this term? So that is what that was. I do want to just go real quickly to Liz's finances so that we can get this out in public. PTO's finances as put together by Liz. Sorry, not Liz's finances. So as you can see, PTO manages two accounts. One account is our operating budget. The second account is an account that's intended for school field trips. We received a donation from the Masonic Lodge down in Bloomington to fund school experiences, field trips, bicycling or bicycles. And as you can see, these are the amounts that we are currently sitting on.
That's a lot of money. Is that normal?
It is not, and I don't have the institutional knowledge to go too far back, but, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Diego, at the time of construction, there was a fund set up for a playground. As it turned out, the playground was folded into construction costs, so that fund became folded into accounts. That's one of those places. The other place, because of pandemic, clearly, we have not been dispersing the field trip funds as heavily as we had been prior to. And that's something that I think is going to certainly pick up. And just sort of point out, the field trip fund is not an operating budget fund. We essentially, the PTO is essentially the school's checkbook writer for those amounts. And so we simply manage and just make sure that things are paid for in an appropriate timely manner. But the other account is the one that we fundraise, readathon, spring plant sale, a couple other ways people just donate. And then that's what allows us to do things like buy books for the classrooms when needed. I think last year we bought some cups for the cafeteria. Headsets were purchased a couple years ago and then replenished, right? So there were some expenditures. And so that's where we're at. Let me just sort of scroll down.
Make that a little bigger.
Little bigger, yes, sir.
I mean, the budget too, but that's fine.
So just to note, the expenditures at the top of summer, we're catching up with our spring expenses. That's why they were in the thousands. But then as we roll through summer, we recovered play date costs. So, and then we do have recurring things like our Zoom account is a recurring cost, that kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to leave board reports for now, and unless there are questions about treasury items.
So just to be clear, the first account is for field trips only, and then the second account is for everything else.
I wouldn't say field trips only, but the first account is the Masonic donated account. So that covers field trips, bicycles. There are a couple other things that are in that bucket. Field trips is a larger one, but the Masonic Lodge is very generous with us. Last year was $12,000. Yep, $12,000 last year.
Has it always been like this?
It's been in that ballpark. Yeah. And so we
Shannon, I spent every dollar.
Like every year.
Oh, I'm sure you do it. Like, I'm sure you
It would
do.
always say zero.
Yeah.
Good, you know.
Yeah.
So, till the pandemic, that's left.
Yeah.
And
Okay. So just for the sake of time, Principal Paz, the floor is yours for your update, sir.
Sure. I'll just start with field trips because we're talking about it and I have lots. So welcome everybody. Maybe I'll start where I wanted to start. So at the beginning of the year is always time we start thinking about staffing, we think about enrollment, we think about like getting back into the routines of school. And so I did send an update this afternoon. Probably haven't had a chance to read those yet, just with a couple little blurbs of what's happening here at school. As far as staffing, we were able to hire a school nurse to replace Nurse Mary. Nurse Tess is with us now 4 days a week. So she's also a Bancroft parent. And she's absolutely fantastic. And so I really enjoyed getting to know her on the staff side of things. And so I think she's gonna fit right into the main office down there. And she works as a nurse at Regions, so she's extremely knowledgeable and nothing phases her. And so she's super just chill and like, okay, well, let's do this. So I'm really excited to say that we do have a school nurse 4 days a week. We also were able to hire a part-time Spanish teacher. So we're as an IB QIP World School, we offer a world language. Our world language is Spanish. We've had some difficulty filling that role. And so this year we split it into a 0.6 and a 0.4 to see if we could attract, people with a part-time job. And we found somebody who has been an immersion teacher at ISLA, and which is also an IB school. So we feel really lucky about that. So she's getting she started on the first day of school. So she's kind of getting, warmed up too with everything. She's been doing prep for the third graders and second graders. And then hopefully eventually we'll start with the push in Spanish for all the grades. And if anybody knows any Spanish speakers that are looking for a 2-day-a-week position, Wednesdays and Fridays, tell them to apply to Bancroft for our Spanish position. We also hired our 2 high five AEs, which were 2 vacancies that we had going into the year. So if you have a high five student and you have Miss Maureen, we hired Nate Kay, who is also a Bancroft graduate and had a couple teachers that are still here, as his teacher was in 3rd grade. But he's been fantastic with the kids. We also hired in Miss Annie's room, Miss Sarah, came to us from Barton, and she's been in the district for a number of years with some special ed background. And she's been an awesome addition. She rides her bike to school, lives in the neighborhood, so she was really looking forward to starting here, and we were happy to have her here at Bancroft. Other than that, the other big news, and I did share it today, is Miss Nichols' husband unfortunately did pass away very recently. His services were this past weekend. They were beautiful, and Brianna did an absolutely amazing job speaking in front of everyone, but she will be on indefinite leave for now. So she left in the middle of August to spend time with family and her daughters. And he did recent battle with cancer on August 30th. August 30th. So she'll be on leave for probably the whole fall. So I just wanted to share that big staffing piece with you all. Enrollment is the other thing that is kind of a big deal around now. We have 414 kids enrolled at Bancroft. That does include high five. And I know when we talk at site council and other meetings, we talk about projections. We were projected to have 363 kids. If you take out the high fivers, we're sitting at 368. So we are right at our, close enough to our projected number. A couple of our grade levels are a little bit bigger than we're accustomed to, but they're not ridiculously large. And I can have the numbers here too. I'm not going to go through every single class and talk about the numbers, but it's good to have kids in our school. We have 436 kids that are registered. They're on our roll, and so teachers will be reaching out to kids who have not shown up yet this week to see if they're coming to Bancroft. I know a couple kids are visiting family in Somalia, and it's 3 boys, and hopefully they'll come back to us in November or December. So we're leaving hopefully some spaces for them when they return. And there's a couple things like that. So we're hoping to get as many kids as possible at our school. Our kindergarten is full, which is fantastic, and our high five is filling up. I just got 3 new kids today that their enrollments came through. So that's where we need to start, is capturing all of our high fivers and kindergartners and keeping them here at Bancroft. And the other thing is just routines and rituals and routines. We have. Last year was a big transition for us, kind of going from a magnet school to a community school, and a lot of families coming from Northrop or Dowling or Falwell, and kind of getting accustomed to the routines here at Bancroft. And many students returned, so a lot of the routines were familiar. The arrival and dismissal, and just getting our kindergarten families and high five families on board with all the things that are happening. I did in my letter this afternoon share, and I want to remind everyone that the building opens at 8:55. I know a lot of families like to come and let kids play on the playground and things like that, but the doors open at 8:55. Teachers, we have a staff meeting tomorrow. It'll go from 8 to 8:55, so we won't be there to greet the kids if they come in early. So I'm just reiterating that 8:55 is when doors open. Breakfast is available for all students if they want to pick it up. Kindergarten will be gathering in the cafeteria every single day moving forward, so they just need to find their teachers and get their breakfast and have a seat. High five will go upstairs. And then dismissal is working really smoothly. It's the same routine that we had last year. We have the A through L last names are in the cafeteria, and parents can pick up in the parking lot or come to door 10. And then if your student has last name M through Z, where they gather in the gym and you pick up from door 7 with Mr. L. A lot of families are still using the blue or yellow sheets. That's super helpful because I'm just, I start to get to know all the parents and all the families that pick up. So it's really easy for me to say, oh, Bernadette, your dad's here, come on out. But it's really helpful for especially the kindergarten families and new families to have your sheet so I can, myself or Mr. Al or even Lindsay down at the parking lot can see who's coming to pick up the kids. Let's see. We talked a little bit about the elections coming up. Bancroft is now a polling site. And so we
You're my polling site.
Yep. So we had the primary here in August. And so then when we have the election actually happen in November, there will be some adjustments to our routines and pickup procedures. So I'll be communicating with families and teachers ahead of that because they're going to be using the gym and they're going to be using door 7 and we're going to try that'll be kind of roped off just for the polling site. And so we'll have some different gym that day and the pickup will be different for especially the kids who are M through Z on that side of the building. The other thing I wanted to mention, we'll be talking about it in the morning with our kids, maybe some teachers did today, but we have our first fire drill tomorrow. So it is a state requirement that we have 5 fire drills every school year. And the policy also states that we have to have our first fire drill within the first 10 days of school. So our first one is scheduled for tomorrow at 10:15, and it's a scheduled one, it's an announced one, so we'll talk to the kids about the procedures, the expectations, staying with their class. And so we'll have that happen tomorrow. I was also asked, I can't remember if it was one of the play dates or open house, but we also have lockdown drills, which are also a state requirement. And I want to let families know that we have to do 5 of those each year. They are not like active shooter drills. They're not, everybody's out there coming and we don't bang on the doors and do some of that crazy stuff that you might hear on some of the news reports. It's just that, they gather inside of the classroom and they're quiet. I announce that it's a lockdown, and then I come out and I'll say it's all clear, and we go back to what you're supposed to be doing. And we also do talk about it with our students before we have our first one, and I will announce it to families too, or share that we're having these drills before they happen. Let's see. Field trips, we talked a little bit about field trips, and we have a good chunk of money in the account right now because there was COVID and the pandemic and we weren't able to schedule buses or schedule outings. I will say that our free and reduced percentage has also dropped significantly. And so now there's not as many grants or scholarships or things like that for students to go on trip. And so what Sue is finding, we talked about it this morning, is that a lot of the entrance fees and things are a lot more expensive than they would have been, 2 or 3 years ago. Because we were, my first year, we were at 83% free and reduced.
What are you at now?
48.
Wow, that makes sense. Well, because you look at the racial, look at the racial makeup and that tracks.
Yep. And so, our last year as a magnet school, I think we were right at 76 or 77%. And then we, that's why I also want families, I wrote about it today, I think a little bit, but applying for educational benefits. And so everyone that qualifies equals funding for our school. And so that makes up a significant amount of money that we can get to provide for teachers, staff, things like that. And then the last thing I just wanted to say is, this is one way, PTO, to get involved with our school. We also have site council. We'll meet once every quarter, so we'll have 4 meetings this year. Coffee, tea, and IV, we'll be sending out things about that. really was hard to get any traction last year with Coffee Tea and IB, so I'm hoping that we find a good time. It was usually the first Friday of every month. And I know we have a lot of families walking in and dropping kids off, so we're hoping maybe like the 9:15, 9:30 right at arrival would be a good way to capture the most families. But it was hard last year to get any traction. But we also started with masks and not doing things in person, so it was really hard to get that rolling. We also try to have a family night at least once a month, some type of family night. In October, we have conferences on the 18th and 19th. So there's just a lot of ways to get involved here at Bancroft. We'll have hopefully our turkey bingo event again in November, and we have our specialist and arts night probably happening in December. So we have a few things already hoping to happen.
And what's the difference now between site council and PTO? Because I know it's changed.
Yeah, that's a great question, and Sue and I talked about that this morning also. That I feel like in the past, site council did a lot of this stuff, right. And PTO was very tiny and small and didn't play much of a role. And now it's kind of flip-flopped to PTO doing a lot more of the an action-oriented type thing where that would have been left to site council. And it's okay if those lines get blurred, that's totally fine. Site council also works with like our school improvement plan. I'll do a state of the schools presentation at site council where they'll share like, here's our data, here's our ESSA designation, all those pieces. We talk about budget as a school budget, so we'll put together like a, what do you call those? Questionnaire, survey. The budget survey for families about priorities, and then we'll look at budget when we get our budget. We'll talk, this year we're going to also talk again about homework and our homework policy. We have a new math curriculum, so we'll do a check-in to see how families are feeling about how that's going. So it's some of those pieces. But yes, it's kind of flip-flop. And you've been here long enough that you know that it's kind of ebbed and flowed to what the PTO is doing.
Which is fine. That's what happens. I just want to say too very quickly that I realized that with my brain flub, that I think I said that the gap for MPS was 30 to 30,000, and I meant million. Yeah. And then yeah, okay, thank you. And that was okay, sorry. And that was yeah, I was. I was like, we can solve this problem. And I was like, maybe not.
If only.
Yes.
Thank you, Bancroft PTO.
Yeah.
Are there any other?
Yeah, no, that's all I got. And just, I mean, as always, thank you for sending your kids to Bancroft. And thank you for trusting us with them.
Can I do an add-on?
Yeah.
So, kind of connected to the starting the year and the rituals and routines that we're building into our days. A lot of kids might come home and talk about our essential agreements, like what do we agree to do as a learning community to help each other be our most productive and happy selves. And so that's something that we're doing. I say to the little kids, essential agreements are like important understandings. What do we agree to? Like, so we have them for our common spaces, like the hallways and the lunchroom and gym. And we also have them for the bathrooms and classrooms and using tools in the classroom, there's supplies and things like that, whatever the community needs. And teachers kind of ebb and flow with those, and they change throughout the year as we evolve as a community as well. And another thing we talk about a lot, because we're an IB school, is the IB learner profile. IB learner profile on a stick. It's an annual tradition here at Bancroft to have the learner profile on a stick. We used to start school before Labor Day, so like it would be during the fair even, so it was really fun. But these 10 attributes make up what we wish to be as human beings, all of us. And so like today I was in Miss Abrahamson's class talking about being caring. And I was in Ms. Hartman's class talking about how do those attributes sound? What do we hear? What do we hear ourselves say? What do we hear others say? How does that make us feel when we're saying those things and doing those things? And what actions promote the learner profile? So really trying to dig deeper and deeper into understanding what that means. And so the IB will say, if we embody these 10 attributes, we are an internationally minded person, that we are valuing our shared humanity and guarding our planet and being good stewards to each other and the planet, so. And that leads to action, which is like, we're not just learning at Bancroft, we're learning so we can be those people today. Like today, no matter how old you are, you could do something that's gonna help somebody or something based on what you know. So the learner profile is really a big topic right now. Go home and you can.
Great. Thank you very much for the updates and the information. Are there any other questions for Diego? I do have a couple of questions I wanted to give to the floor. Nikki, go ahead.
Do you have a date in mind for the next site council? Or for the first of this year?
Not yet.
Okay, great, thanks.
And any questions online? Great, thank you for the nonverbals. I did want to follow up, the students' vote activity, Nicole Infinity was sort of spearheading that before, and we sort of assisted. Is someone else on faculty or on staff picking that up, or should we? I got an email, so that's the reason why I'm asking, but I wasn't the lead, or we weren't the lead. Is that a follow-up?
We haven't talked about it yet, but certainly we can.
Okay, absolutely. And what that is a statewide organization that encourages students to actively vote on what, was it on election day? Yeah, they did on election day.
Yeah.
And so they were participating in the process, and then within the schools you saw results and that kind of thing. And so it mirrored the action, if there was a referendum, if there was.
Yep, it's our ballot. Yep.
So that's something to follow up on. The 48 free and reduced, I feel like at the end of spring, the number, and that was, I guess, when did they revise that number down? Because it was actually up sometime between March and May.
So that is our October 1 count as of 2020.
October of last year. Okay, so, and it certainly could just be my own faulty memory, which is very faulty. And then I did want to mention regarding the sad news with Brianna, Mandy's got a card that folks want to sign. It's here. Right?
Yes.
Yep. And so we can get that signed over break or after meeting, or we can circulate it now. Perhaps we could make it available for a few days longer in the office, and then we would just leave it with you to deliver.
Give it to her, or should we just leave it for when she comes back?
I can drop it off there.
Yeah.
Okay. And so for the folks online, if you want to participate in the card, I think we will try to maybe just for a couple of days. I don't want to burden the office staff too much, but we'll figure out a process so people can sign it.
If
we-
We can put it on the counter top perhaps when you enter by the masks, and we could have it out.
Okay, thank you. Michelle or Melissa, who was that just spoke?
I was just wondering if we put it in the PTO box, if that wouldn't burden the office staff or be in the way, but I like Diego's idea better.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to our next topic. I do want to be mindful of time. And theoretically speaking, Parkway Pizza is gonna be arriving in the next 5 minutes. We'll get the pizza available to our childcare kids. And then once they've got their first round, we'll take our break and head on down. And Liz. Yes.
I got it. I was wondering, do I?
I'm just keeping an eye out to see, for a car scooching in and hitting brakes pretty hard.
If they're not here on time, we get it free.
No, yeah. Okay, so I did want to move into kind of a readathon.
Yeah.
So we it's September. Our next meeting is a month from now, and then 2 weeks after that is our first sort of big event fundraiser, but it's also, I don't really want to push it as much as a fundraiser as a big event, and it takes a little, some significant volunteer work. So we're using this time now to introduce it, so folks know that Readathon is on the horizon, and Mandy is the chair of Readathon this year. And so Mandy, I'll give you the floor.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I left my phone in my car, which has all my notes. So Readathon is our first big fundraiser. It happens in October and coincides with, I believe it kind of ends with the fall conferences and then our book sale, book fair, which is usually provided through Moon Palace Books.
Yep.
And so kids basically read as much as possible to try to fundraise money. You can get friends and family to donate for your reading efforts. And then I think, is it the top fundraiser and the top minutes read for each grade, or is it each classroom?
Right. So I've got on the board the form from
Thank you.
2020,
Thank you.
which mirrors 2021, so it's not too off. So the first thing to sort of say, it's going to be October 17th through the 31st this year. So it starts the week of conferences, book sale will be that week, and then we go until the following week. So it's a 2-week process. These forms, what you're looking at right now is just a digital version of an envelope that goes home with the students. And they earn prizes based on their reading minutes. And there's some math involved, the readings per day, right? So there's that, and that's provided by PTO. And then there are the larger prizes of top reader in a class and top fundraising total in a class. And so those are both recognized. We have stuffed Bancroft Bulldogs that are given out for that one. So that's kind of the measure of that. And in terms of the fundraising process, we also pass through our Give MN site. So folks are able to, for folks that are out of town or that want to do it digitally and not necessarily the paper form. So we have multiple ways for the fundraising part to happen, but the reading part is really just a big encouragement with the book sale that occurs the week of conferences. And so Mandy is spearheading it. What we're looking for are volunteers. There's just a lot of paper that sort of gets pushed around. And getting all the forms in, tracking, tallying up numbers and all that stuff, and distributing prizes out to staff to get to the classrooms. So we would love help there. We would also love help, actually. It would be great if we could find 2 or 3 more people to join Mandy as a steering committee for this. We are going to assess whether or not we need more prizes, and we're also going to assess whether we need different prizes. The prizes have been the same prizes for the 3 or 4 years at least. And not that that's a bad thing, but it is a record. It's like, I earned this last year, for those that are kind of working their way through the years. So maybe we could consider something new. And so that's just, some deliberation would be great, and some informed decision making. And sometimes I don't make those informed decisions. So we would love for volunteers. And then at our October meeting is when we sort of hit the ground and go. So if people would consider that, get in touch with Mandy and Amanda.
It's my first year doing it. Nicole Infinity did it like basically forever, 5 years probably, but.
Since last century.
Last century.
That's why Infinity was the name, right? Yeah.
I volunteer.
And actually their name isn't Infinity anymore.
Right.
Messing it up, but so it's my first year doing it. We've been enthusiastic participants for 5 years now, and I'm looking forward to it. It's always a lot of fun.
You have a volunteer.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I volunteered last year and we had a slight blip in that, I think in the previous years, each of the envelopes had a label with the kid's name and their teacher, like their classroom, and they did that last year.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was very difficult.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. Once you have this form ready, our job is to then submit a job to the document center so they can print all that stuff off for us. So we're not doing it on site. I think last year we did a lot of it on site, and it was kind of convoluted. So if we can get that ahead of time, I can submit the job to the document center and they can do all that stuff for us.
Hey, our kids are
Mandy?
Yes.
Sorry, I can help with the part of it of like the making stuff and getting stuff to the document center part if you need it, and also like helping find new prizes if you need that part.
Yeah, that sounds great. I would love to just run some ideas by other people who aren't just me. So that'd be awesome.
Tasha, did you also have your hand up?
I just, so this is a thought we had at a school I worked at last year, to just honor the different socioeconomic statuses of our family, to take fundraising and move it down below the minutes run. Because there's some shame and some not feeling as worthy maybe if we can't earn money or if our family can't contribute. And then culturally, some of our families will give even if they can't, right? And so just really honoring that, yes, we want to raise money, but it's more important to get kids reading. And so just even when you look at the form, if you scroll, it's really big about getting money as number 2, and not like, so if we can make that like down the, that's just my thing, because I think especially, and then if classrooms are getting awarded for various fundraising, and your class didn't for whatever reason, that just can bring shame to that group as well. And so I just want us to be mindful of that.
No, that's a great comment. I think I did, one of the things, I sort of, this is sort of part of the spirit of the comment I made at the opening of the meeting, the whole momentum thing. We have seen a shift in personnel, in folks that have been part of our community and have been active in our community. And, you know, they've changed. Nicole is the one in this particular case. So we do have an opportunity to sort of critically think and analyze what we're doing, and then what do we want to keep and what do we want to go. We don't want to break the wheel too much, but yes, absolutely. So I think, without belaboring the point too much, is this, would you be willing to sit in on a meeting to sort of talk through?
Maybe.
Okay.
Or like an email.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah. No.
But yeah.
Yes, no, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but I love
So-
that idea though. Thank you for bringing that up. And it's something that, I mean, we always try to be conscious of, and sometimes those things just.
Yeah, I didn't realize when we were doing the envelopes last year that there was a prize for that. I guess maybe it hadn't been conveyed to me or I hadn't seen it on the envelope, but it wasn't until we were like going through the envelope that we were setting aside contributions as a prize. I guess I had been just talking to my kid about the reading part of it.
Yeah. I've never mentioned.
So I wasn't
fundraising
sure if
for
it was
my
on.
kids, 'cause we don't really do a great
Yeah,
job
we don't
fundraising.
really either, so. Okay.
My kids are just excited to read, but yeah, that's, I mean, and if it's something that we feel like is problematic, like we take out the prize for fundraising and just celebrate.
I like that idea. I like that idea.
You know, like, it's not something I've ever been that interested in. So,
So
yeah.
I think,
let's do that.
well, great, no, great idea. Before we commit it. Absolutely, no, absolutely. And I'm not trying to discourage anything. I do want to say, we do have the opportunity we have a month.
Yeah.
And then we go live. So let's take that month to, make the change, figure out our.
Well, we're kind of mocking up a new order form and just kind of give
Yeah,
it a.
absolutely. And reflect the value that we're trying to communicate now. Yes, Shannon.
I don't want to be part of the committee, but, yes, but, I don't really want to send it up. I just want to say, like, I'm a parent, I don't think that I'm alone in this, where it's like, I every year I see the readathon, it's been like 10 years now, because my son went all the way through, and I'm like, that's not anything, I'm not asking my family for anything, I'm not taking on sides of it. What I will do is donate money, right? And so I don't know if there's a way, like, the flip side of what you were talking about, for people like, to make it easier, like, just for people to be like, we're gonna read, like, it's gonna be great, but like, we're not gonna like track this and fill this out. You can donate $50, $50 whole dollars if you want, or what, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if
You
that's.
don't want to track the reading minutes, is that what you're saying?
No, the money minutes, or the money, donations.
I just want to donate to Bancroft.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
That's what I did.
No,
Okay,
so,
all right, so maybe it's just.
No, we don't.
Maybe it's just a confessional and we can just leave it at that, I don't know.
I think there was a fair number of
Well,
families. Yeah, I'm surprised that most people just cut a check for their own children.
Yes.
And don't.
Yeah.
really
Ask other people.
Yeah, sure.
I hit up my parents because they're always good for it, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
we could just revamp that. We could just pretty much give permission on the form, in some kind of way to just like be like,
Right. What level of fundraising works for your family, and that may include not fundraising. Just focus on the reading.
Right, we don't want to make anyone feel guilty.
no, absolutely. I think if we take away the tracking of the donations, it certainly makes the math easier when we have to tally up. So that's certainly there. I do want to recognize that the fact that we, as a PTO and as a group, as a community, did an astounding amount of fundraising over readathon last year.
Yeah,
I think we did 11 or just over 10.
Just, I think it was
1,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Something in that ballpark. I don't remember the exact numbers anymore. But I mean, people are pretty invested in readathon, and I'm not sure.
So where I'm going with a statement, I'm sorry, if we may just hold a little chatter. Where I'm going with the statement is, there is a seamless process, and I think it's just a matter of communicating. And the Give Event site was phenomenal. And that's where the bulk of the donations are coming through digitally. And so to sort of communicate it, that there's a digital process, it doesn't have to be tracked, you could share it or not share it, it could be anonymous. There are many anonymous donations that we couldn't even, well, I don't know how you attached it, but there were, you could see it in the back end, you have to go into the back end system to figure out who it was, but there was a lot of anonymous donating to occur. So, I mentioned it in the sense of, I mean, yes, we are doing well. I don't want to, thinking long term, I want to make sure that PTOs after us still have a viable fundraising on moving forward, you know, after my kid gets out of school, whoever's PTO, then they have the same benefit that we're not able to play. I'll be honest, I'm a little befuddled about where pizza is, because that's my so I don't want us to break, because I want us to keep rolling since there's no food yet, but I'm going to ask a shift. May I shift, or are we still?
Well, I just, yeah, I'll help troubleshoot or think about.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We have a committee.
Yay.
I mean, I don't know how like much time we can commit to.
No worries.
I'd love to help a little bit.
Yeah,
Troubleshoot
absolutely.
and think through like ways to be more equitable.
Last time I got pizza, it was over here at
Oh, but they're not even calling you.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if they had called you that.
Yeah. They did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm sorry, before we move on, so we
yes.
had Crystal, Tana, anyone else in an actual committee?
I got Michelle online.
Michelle,
Yes,
yes,
Michelle,
thanks, I just,
Okay.
also forgot my notebook, so. I
So-
can help on it. Oh, thank you, it's Kate.
I do, in the spirit of the discussion that we just had, I do want to bring up that we're transitioning into what activities should PTO lead this year? What should we do this year? What should we be responsible for this year? How should we be helpful? Do we need to change where we're placing attention? It goes well into the whole site council conversation. Maybe we shed some of the budget talk and focus differently. It's great to hear, for example, that Family Arts Day was coming back, because one of the things I wanted to sort of say was PTO can certainly take on the organizing of that if need be, kind of like what the March event was, or April event was last spring. So I think I would like to open the floor to folks, just sort of, where did the little post-its go?
It's kind of all over.
So really, it's just take a post-it, have an idea of what would you like PTO to sort of become involved in this year, what's a priority. We'll slap them on the board. Folks online, you could use the chats, and we'll include you that way. And then once we sort of have a sense of what people in today's group are thinking, we can prioritize. Okay, well, 4 of you are considering this thing to be the thing, so maybe that's a priority. You know, does it make sense? We sort of vote with our feet, if that makes sense. One of the reasons that I'm doing this is back in 2019, a project that's near and dear to my heart that we finally did last year was the caregiver cultural exchange. We did 2 of them last year. That came out of a session like this back in 2019. Just a couple of years, there's something in the middle that kept it from happening. And we finally got it going. So I would love for that to continue. And I think the question is whether there's still priority there, or is something else a priority? So go ahead and jot down. I'm going to call the pizza folks. And would you like to sort of share the logistics? Thank you very much. All right. And then, is there any chance?
You heard it right on the.
I know, right?
One for each.
Actually,
One
chats
A,
went through the
four,
minutes, throw it
no.
on.
Oh, okay.
I know, it's like, what do you think?
Oh, I have posted something.
Okay.
I'm trying to get to.
Ooh, I would like some. Yeah, I'll have some, like, don't worry, Natasha's just gonna hold the.
Anybody else?
Yes, please.
Don't make me be that guy. Restaurant using 20 napkins.
I'll take it.
I don't know, I'm just.
You don't have
So
to.
I'm like, I don't know where you have the cat. Okay. If you have your idea and you wanna like post it up there, I don't know if you all envisioned us to do like sharing all of the ideas, posting them both. I'm a facilitator by training, my day job, so I could go multiple ways with this, but
there's a lot of ideas, we probably won't have time to get through sharing them all. So put enough content descriptions that someone else will know what you wrote down and like be able to understand it or put your name on it so we can move back to you if we have questions. But if anyone wants to share some of what you're putting on your Post-it, like just throw it out, what do you got?
I really appreciated previously when we were figuring out how we could get involved in like state legislative funding. And it seems like a lot of people really want to do something, but you just don't know how. So like providing the names of here's the people you should email, here's like a sample letter, like or the kinds of things that you should talk about. Like, I mean, we can't advocate for anything specific as like a nonprofit, but just knowing what those avenues are and what we can do, I thought that was really helpful.
I'm seeing a lot of head nods.
Yep. Can I piggyback on that? So I don't know if people know here, but Josh Donnan is the NPS lobbyist and the only NPS lobbyist. And he has been organizing just opportunities throughout the summer and like into the fall for NPS parents who are. So it's just some of us parents got kind of, I'm not gonna say radicalized, but we got educated about the funding stuff through the strike. And so then we started reaching out to other people who were already working on it. And so we got connected with them. Anyway, if anybody, can I borrow some paper? I can pass this around and then ask him to add you to the list.
Yes.
Because, there's like, there was something in St. Cloud the other weekend that I couldn't go to that was like door knocking. And then there was like, if you can't make that, you can donate, so PTO can't donate, but parents can do stuff.
That's great. And I think there's also like transferable pieces of information that we can then pass on to other families based on what you're learning in that avenue. But definitely put that on a Post-it. Perfect. What's another idea that you'd like to share?
I also wrote down, I loved spring bingo. I thought that was great. I thought it was so successful. Like arts math night. Great times. Yes. Yeah.
I love roller skating. Can't do roller skating anymore because they closed.
There isn't a roller skating.
That was my question.
Can we go to the bird place and birds? Or something that was so fun. It was like, it was epic. It was such a fun.
It was epic.
What's a fun, affordable.
I think we should check out Burnsville first.
Oh my God.
Is it?
I grew up in Burnsville. I don't know if maybe you knew that. I spent a lot of time in Stateville.
Wow. So did my husband.
It's really far away.
I grew up in And then somebody, I mean, my kids didn't know how to roller skate. I barely know how, but it was so fun. And they hadn't changed their decor since like 1985 or something. It was so fun.
Wow.
We used to put our field trips at elementary school.
Oh my
I grew up
God.
in Salem Park.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It looked exactly like, I texted my brother, I think the same carpet.
Yeah.
From the chat here, I've got one that says a cookout/barbecue for kids and families.
Oh, that's fun.
The other one, it says increasing BIPOC family engagement, which I have written down. I know Paul's super good about being out in the parking lot and engaging families, but has there been any discussion of maybe once or twice a year trying to find someone to translate a PTO meeting so that for families where English isn't the first language, if we have some budget, I don't know what a 2-hour translation costs, we just have someone in the room who can kind of break down the barriers. I don't know, it's not the same thing, but kind of related ways to get.
Ways to engage.
Yep. This is an ongoing problem.
I just so before COVID, I was working at a different IB school, and we would do family cultural nights. And so it was like this huge potluck where every family could bring their own food, and like, so we'd have sambusa and Mexican rice, and it was just the most amazing thing. We did it at Winter Wonderland, and it was fabulous. So that's amazing. And it was so.
Sounds kind of like that family thing we did last year with the parents coming into classrooms, but on a bigger scale.
Yeah, it was just amazing.
I used to work at a place where we did a big, I did not.
No, go
I
ahead.
apologize. No, we did like a big Thanksgiving potluck, you know, the place where we had a lot of people and everyone was included. I remember there was one issue though, if like, I don't know if this is, if it happens on school grounds, if there's any kind of like health code things that might squirt up against, because I trust that everyone thinks it's fine, but I feel like if somebody got, you know.
Sick, yeah. Comment said they totally agree with the potluck.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I think, I mean, I have her comment. I mean, I think a lot of, you know, I'm not working class, I'm part of the professional elite, as it were, you know, which is why I can come to something like this. And so, but there's a lot of BIPOC families, like, you know, the reason why they don't come to stuff like this is because they're working, you know, and they've got like just a different set of family obligations than most sort of upper middle class folks do. And so I'm not poo-pooing the potluck, but I feel like that it's just sort of another expectation that families are gonna bring stuff to the thing, you know, so so I'm not trying to be like Debbie Downer because I don't necessarily like have the solution for this, but I just feel like,
It's just another way to feel.
I just feel like, okay, yeah, so yeah, not to be jerky, but I just feel like it's another way for like, kind of like middle class white people to feel like they're being multicultural, but not really changing.
Go ahead, Tracy. So in my district, the equity department fully funds something like that, and they pay, you know, Black-owned businesses or whatever, cultural food, ethnic food, you know, someone that owns a business to cater. Sure. So that the food is provided and it's paid for and it's.
I think that's a much better.
I don't know how many others, but like, I'm teaching Bloomington, so they have an equity department that pays for that.
I love that idea, because you're also supporting, like, someone who's local and you're the community.
There's so many around here.
There's a budget.
And then you don't have to worry about health code violations.
And
So I encourage you to take your Post-its and put them up on the board, and if you see others that are kind of similar to yours, maybe group them a little bit if you can as you go up. And then the pizza's here, so I think this will be our break after the kids grab their pizza, and we'll take a cycle through.
Maybe we could also ask BIPOC families
Right.
what would support them in showing up.
Yeah.
Don't we have different, is there a group of families that meet once a month or once a quarter of,
There is a-
just host a meeting here, didn't we? At one time? I don't know if there's like a Native American family one or.
Yeah, so in the past, we did a Native American family meeting, 2 or 3 times a year, and then this Somali family.
Okay.
And that's when we had multiple Somali staff, and about 130 Somali students, which now.
Yeah.
So it's like a
It's
huge,
so sad.
it is.
It's so
Yeah, so
sad.
there's a huge, difference in that, and we don't have any Somali speaking staff anymore.
Yeah, because I remember some meetings being that's for the staff members.
Yeah, so Mr. Alvey was doing the Somali, Linda was, we don't have Somali in our budget, so Linda would do all the interpreting for families, so there's been a lot of. So there's been some positive shifts with being in school, and there's been some real negative.
What is the breakdown now, Diego? Oh, I'm sorry.
I gotta be a little facetious, I think there's between 10 to 20, like, we used to have about 130.
But still.
Yeah.
But still, yeah.
Well, my
130
son
students.
was with like, a complete.
Yeah.
It's still better than this.
Yeah, it's just like I went over to Seward last spring and I was like, oh my God, I felt it, I was like, I miss these having a wide variety of food. Yes.
It's been a hard shift.
Okay, so just give us a sense where we're at and given the sense of the time that we've got. Once the kids move through, they're gonna head down the cafeteria. We can grab something. I'm sorry about the salad, let me just say that outright, to figure out why. But with the time we've got left, it would be great if we just sort of came back rather than.
Yeah, sure.
cut. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so, how were we managing? How were we managing the central priority?
We didn't get to the first couple of ideas, like people around the room were all head nodding and then kind of building on the conversation. So what I heard as top ideas were to connect to how we can support the statewide funding conversation and learning about our role in that. Second was family engagement in a way that doesn't put onus on the families to bring or do, but to be provided for and to be engaged that way, and maybe also ask some of the diverse families, what they would like those engagements to be like.
Okay.
Am I summarizing correctly?
No, yeah. No, that's great, that's great.
They're putting the ideas up there, like comments together. I think then what we can do is I can take those, type them up, summarize them, see how that kind of flows.
No, that's great. I think that's great. So, and for the folks online who are still online, thank you very much for your patience. What we'll do is synthesize, as Robin said, it looks like we've got a couple of priorities, and then we'll communicate that out and see how that organizes for our October meeting as we move forward. I think one of the things, just for the sake of time, Diego, it did look like family engagement stuff was there. I know you mentioned the bingo and the art tonight. I think maybe we'll just start a conversation about how we can be involved in any of the arts that are coming up this, family nights this fall. And then we can consider whether Springo takes a return.
Springo.
It probably will. That's what we called it last year, wasn't it?
I
Yeah.
forgot last year already.
Yeah, anyway, all right, so let me, the kids are still working through, we have 20 minutes. I appreciate everybody's perseverance. And you're riding the momentum. Can you feel the momentum? Yeah. Let me just get to my slide deck. Okay. We got just two items that are not hefty, but they look hefty. Introductory discussion about PTO's financial health as it relates, blah, 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 blah. What that really means is, I think we sort of illustrated, we do have some money in the accounts. We have been doing well. We haven't been spending as much. We've done, let me say, how should I say, we've done the best we could over the pandemic over last year, covering the things that needed covering. We have an opportunity to think a little more long-term, not just in terms of what are we taking in, but what do we put out that has a long-term benefit to our community. Where this is coming from, and I'm not outlining this as a priority necessarily, but for example, my example is this. The gym doesn't have a very good sound system. And the notion was, well, would PTO, could we, should we, is it appropriate for us to make a capital investment in the building for a sound system so that it's not screaming over the tops of our lungs into a microphone that's not really only being heard by the front 30 people? That's one notion. Let me say for context, back in 2019, 2020, pre-pandemic, there was this idea that we were going to invest in art piece, public art piece that was reflective of our values of our school, that would be on campus. Something that you would, a mosaic was an idea, somebody had a statue idea. That day, Diego, if you remember, you brought in these old these old branded things. We can take a look at that again. I'm not saying that's the right answer either, but I'm saying this is really a discussion that has occurred over the last couple of years. So I wanted to sort of introduce this today with the idea that it fires up some folks to sort of consider this. We will communicate this out to the greater community. Our goal is that PTO sort of leads an effort to consult with our stakeholders and our constituents, and then consider what would that be. I feel like we're in a good place. Liz, being the experienced financial wizard, I'm not being sarcastic at all. She makes me feel happy about not having to deal with numbers. One of the things was the idea of holding something in a reserve. I mean, we don't really have a plan like that. We don't really have a plan of what should we keep in reserve and then what is an expenditure. We've really just had an account that we've been buying cups, buying headsets, buying, paying for Zoom, right? And so now I think we could be a little more intentional, and I think that's a good thing. Any comments or questions? Now that not that I was on a soapbox, but any comments or questions from the floor from the online folks? Not all at once. I can't really hear it.
Like about like ideas for that money or?
Or just a reaction. I mean, do people? I was getting head nods, so non-verbally, this is a good discussion to have.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And with the suggestion about like a piece of art or public art, I mean, there's, folks that do murals that are like student involved murals that, like work together and it's like this community project. That would be cool.
Yeah,
and it'd be a cool way, I think, to invest in that could also involve students and,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Good Space Mill is one that's local. I'm sure there's other folks around too. I know people that do that kind of work, so probably other people do too, but I.
Yeah. There's been like a renaissance of mural art.
Yeah.
And that's been great, absolutely. And that's the thing. I think one idea was a statue of a bulldog. We don't have to do a statue of a bulldog.
Yeah.
We could do that.
That was student led.
Should we get food as we talk?
Yeah, now, absolutely. Now's a good time. Go for it, and then we'll move into that. Good murals. Did the Green Central Fall murals and Summit Anderson. Yep, thank you, Melissa. That's great context to bring up. Thank you very much. I'm sorry we can't offer you pizza at home.
Could run some over.
Yeah.
Forks and you can watch us eat.
Are they not in the bag or no? Are you? Okay.
Sure, it's not the first time it's happened.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, these didn't make their way all the way around. I grabbed one.
So I have vegetarian and cheese and meat.
Oh, that sounds great, yeah. Okay.
I'm just like.
And like 100% do that. It's not, if I can do it like at home and I, maybe even if we do an event.
Tomorrow's LPAC.
Actually, was vegan mock-up.
Yeah, it is.
I'm totally cool being on that email. Yeah, no, that sounds great. Okay, yeah. I just don't want to do anything that early, but it is.
I'm not sure. So we're hosting.
I don't believe so. Not here at Bancroft.
Hi, Patricia. I just checked in with Diego. The LPAC meeting is October is the one that's going to be held at Bancroft. And he's looking up the date, but he believes it's a Saturday in October. Was that the meeting you were asking about?
So there is an LPAC meeting.
Oh, no.
Oh, there is one.
So she would need to email Edgar.
Oh, yeah.
I just got an email from the lady, she's like,
Thank you.
she's like, we have all these people, like, the science needs this, if you have this and this, and you need money, I'm like, and I get it, like, that's cool also, it's just that it's a really school they're like trying to get it together, but I'm just like, this is really good.
Right. I just wanted to like,
Even that's my topic. There needs to be like, yeah, it's really
Thank you.
parents who are like, let's.
And you were all doing it. Is there a capital investment talk? Is that also? I know this fundraiser. That's a separate.
Yeah, that's
okay. Well, not like but like Mr. Maxwell had like. Okay, right. I will say
installation.
I mean, I was just,
Support
so
architects. Those are nice
Oh, I didn't
rooms. Supposed to be homework, but they're-
Yeah, and I'm sure there are.
Okay, no, thank you.
I'm 47 and my chronic problem has gotten longer, but it's still a problem. So I will get this.
No, it's something you're talking about.
I just.
I've been in there, and I'm like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
No, absolutely.
Busy right now.
Exactly. Right. So like it's
I don't want to.
This.
Yeah.
I was hearing it for sure.
But I love when you're all like follow up.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, my battery is low. I'm gonna plug in. All right.
Focus.
My son's there at school today.
Oh,
Great.
I know, it's
Adam came home on the first day after an hour, just. His eyes were like small and shot.
Allergies are bad. Yeah.
He was so sad. I was like, sorry, buddy, you gotta. That's right.
So, while we're here, and certainly continue chewing, you don't have to talk. And for the folks that are left online, we're at the point where, in the beginning of the school year, we elect, other board, members. The board is constituted of, president, the vice president, secretary, the treasurer, communications chair. Over the last couple of years, we added two positions, two at-large positions that sort of, had no portfolio, but, project management based, right? And of course, people can get involved however they want. I mean, they don't have to be a board member to do stuff with PTO, right? But having said that, at the end of the year, we elect the president, treasurer, because someone has to sign checks, and we have to do some planning. Beginning of the year, secretary, vice president, communications chair. And yeah, coming up for more pizza. We got hungry people. So we have Robin in the role of vice president. This is the end of your first term. I think it's been a great first term. So I would like to invite Robin to continue if you're interested, but the floor is also open if somebody else is interested. Michelle is finishing her second year, I believe, first year officially in communications chair, but she's been doing a lot of communication stuff regardless. That's another example of not having to have a position to be helpful. The secretary position has been open. We would love to fill that position. The secretary position helps with, frankly, we all do something. The portfolio for the secretary is to help with communications, manage the agenda. If we need to be passing out paperwork before the meetings, and there's some of that stuff, but truly it's just another voice at the leadership table to sort of help guide, to make sure that we have a diversity of opinion and a diversity of expertise shared with us. So those are the three positions. The at-larges, I don't know if you knew this or not, Anna, but you were a member at large. And Melissa and Joanne, because Melissa, Anna, and Joanne, they spearheaded our online bingo. which was enormously successful. I want to recognize that.
You guys did great.
And then from there, I just kept telling him, keep doing more, asking him. And so play dates, winter play dates, that was your portfolio, the three of you. We did the spring go, I mean, there was a lot of stuff. So that's just an example. So on top of that, new this year, we would like to recruit representatives from the grades, and if possible, even from the classrooms. So we have someone at the grade level that is closer to what's going on in the classrooms, able to say, hey, this is what I'm hearing from our kids, this is what I'm hearing from our teacher. And it just kind of keeps an open communication. There's so many different ways of us communicating, there's so many different ways of us getting to this, what if somebody rose into talent, something like that, right? And so we wanted to try the idea of, okay, we understand that maybe you don't want a really heavy lift, but maybe you do drop off every day. And so you have a connection with the teachers and you just hear things and know things. One of the lovely things I felt like about, for example, Nicole, use Nicole as an example, she was on site all the time. So she was the ears to the ground type thing. I mean, Nicole just knew stuff that I wasn't hearing, and brought stuff to PTO that otherwise might not have gotten to PTO. So that's the other thing. If high five, right? So that's I would like to invite people to sort of step up for that. So having said that, we're at the 7-minute mark. I'm going to open the floor for nominations for vice president. And I know we're not a Robert's Rules of Order house, so I wouldn't be able to do this otherwise, but I am going to renominate Robin into the position if you would like to accept.
Thank you. I would like to just kind of talk about it
Yeah.
first and go from there. Certainly, I think my role has been pretty limited in the last year. I've really been focused on seeing what requests come in from teachers of how they need support in the classroom, and there's like a form and a process for that to be executed really easily. But given the school coming, back after the pandemic, I think those requests just weren't a high priority in the past year, and there just wasn't many. And so I feel like my role was pretty small throughout the last year, but certainly also didn't have a lot of extra time to give in the last year. I think I'm not committed to needing to be the vice president. If someone else is interested and wanting to be a stronger partner for VPAL, I totally welcome that. I think about too, and the longevity of PTO and what VPAL has brought in terms of the technology and interaction that has existed. I know nothing of how to manage and make that magic work. And it would be great, I think, too, for someone else to be a stronger lead with him and supporting all that he leads in his role. So I know that that's not something I can fully take on. So I'm open to what makes sense. And I know that even if I'm not in the VP role, I would certainly be here and helpful as I'm able. So long way of saying you want to be vice president, now's your chance.
So the floor is open. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you belittled too much what role you did for last year, because it was great. Is anyone else interested in the role and trying it out? And Shannon being. You're looking right at me, so I just had to start.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look at you now.
The reason I am vice president is because in one of the first meetings last year, I talked a lot, and then Paul was like, well, what role would you like to play? And I was like, oh,
No,
okay.
stop giving away my tricks and tips. I think that's how we got Tasha onto the committee.
Yeah.
But
It's all good.
but seriously, the floor is open.
Yep.
Well, okay, so seeing none, I am going to ask for a vote. We have a nomination that is accepted.
Yes.
That is accepted. And so I'm putting a vote to the floor. It's going to be ayes for Robin as vice president, nays for not. Online, if you would please, 1 for yes, 2 for no in the chat. Call the vote.
Yay.
Aye. Any nays? And we got one. It's anonymous. Unanimous. All right. All right, thank you. So welcome. Thank you. Now, Michelle has been our communications chair, graphic designer by trade, brings her skill to the role. Our PTO newsletters, which really took off last year, and we're really hopeful to make that, even more momentum. So she's interested in the role, but in the same way she's communicated, if someone else is interested, she's also open to that. So I am nominating Michelle, and she is interested. This is an offline over email thing that we've discussed. But if there is any interest in the role, the communications chairs, you would have admin rights to our Facebook groups, our Facebook page, help with the newsletter. She would still continue to help with the newsletter even if she wasn't in the role. Website, I manage the website. It'd be great to have somebody else manage the website. We'll get you certified through the district so that you have access, admin access to the website, plus any other communications bit. People are getting sick of my jokes.
No, everybody's tired.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah. So, floor is open. Any nominations for the communications chair?
So it's two people, just to be clear, that we're choosing between?
No, right now, just Michelle. I'm asking for a second nomination. Was there another one?
Oh, sorry. Nope, just Michelle is great.
Okay.
Oh, but Michelle's still going, she's still going for it?
She is, yes. Yep, she is still interested, but in the same spirit as what Robin sort of communicated, if someone else was interested. And she would still be involved regardless. I know, I have to let it be awkward just long enough. Okay, yeah. Okay, so to vote for Michelle, ayes, yes. Nays, obviously no. Ayes.
Aye.
Nays. Then online, 1 or 2. Yes or no? 1. Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, so we have a comm chair. Secretary, that's a position I would love to fill to help round out our group. We would love to take on somebody new, because that's what we're asking for here. Tana, would you like to be secretary? I mean, I don't have anyone necessarily to nominate. I would nominate Tana. I give you that look. You still look at me.
It sounds like an easier role for me to just sort of do some stuff in the background. That's what I'm more.
Did you talk about what the duties are?
Yeah.
So secretary, so I mean, on paper, secretary helps manage the agenda, manage our communications, manage the verbiage. I mean, there's just a lot of sort of writing that occurs in the background. And so just sharing some of that role. But
Are we wanting someone to be doing minutes and like sending out the reports?
that's a big one. I do a lot of that, and I'm fine doing it, but I've got a lot. So, anybody, would anybody like to be secretary?
I work as a copywriter, so maybe.
Oh my gosh.
I'd love to nominate.
Yeah. All right, Tana, yes, Melissa. Okay. Any other nominations? We're going to go just a couple minutes over. I'm sorry, folks. So we did start 1 minute, on a minute late. All right. So I'll vote to approve Tana in the position. Ayes, yes. Nays, no. Ayes.
Aye.
Nays. 1's for yes, 2's for no. We got 1's. Thank you. You all know the drill. Thank you very much. Welcome. I will give you passwords.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We are going to take this part offline, but I am interested in the class representatives. So, do we have a pad of paper? I'm sorry. Or actually, I'm just going to collect these. To know who actually attended today. And maybe we'll do a reach out and see if we can generate some more interest. And we'll make that a newsletter item. The last thing, any questions about that before I close us out on that topic?
Are you wanting PTO members to also do that, or are you looking for like new people to get more engagement?
It's both. I mean, I certainly can understand that there's work to be done. We can share the load, but if people are fired up to do it, yeah, absolutely double dip. I'm not going to stand in the way of that. I am understanding though the fact that the position, as I'm imagining it, is tailored to those who maybe can't commit a lot of time, but they're on campus. They hear things a lot. It's an open invitation to tell us, I think our classroom needs this. Our classroom is interested in that, and what that means. We already have a process that passes through the school, and we have this formal process where we reach out to the teachers. But it was so nice when we had people that were just sort of there who knew things. right? And I think now it's a matter of establishing who knows things, who are the people who know. That's what it makes it. And formalizing those processes. Okay, so no more questions. The last thing I want to mention, last year we started a conversation. I won't even call it work because I don't think we really got it, but we started a conversation about inclusivity, diversity, equity, accessibility. In the fall we talked, and I'm not doing this justice. We talked about a land acknowledgement effort from a PTO standpoint. The discussion sort of rolled into the notion that perhaps it's the school would create, and it was taken to the staff's diversity and equity group. What that effort has resulted in is that there is a parent diversity equity group that is sort of a counterpart to the staff one. And we had our first meeting at the end of the year last year. It was very introductory, just sort of to say this is what we'd like to do. There were some members in this room that were in that meeting, and we'd like to continue with that. I spoke with Mr. L about, and so there is effort. So I know there was talk from, could PTO do something more? And certainly we certainly could. I think there's an avenue we'd like to explore and create and strengthen, and that's this parent group that's meant to partner with the teacher staff group. And so I just wanted to communicate that out as a closing idea for us to take away and see is that something to follow up on. I mean, it is absolutely follow up, but for you to follow up on. Okay, any comments or questions about that? All right, we're done. Sorry for the extra couple minutes. I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you very much.
If anybody wants to sign the cards on the way out, otherwise we will put it in the PTO box in the office.
And if anybody would like a yard sign, I have them here.
And do you have the paper to sign?
Oh, is it not?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Melissa, Patricia, thank you for sticking it out. I appreciate it.
My yard looks terrible.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Good, how are you?
How did it go?
We got through our first meeting. This is great.
Really well.